Good evening, my beautiful butterflies and fly guys. Boy, have I missed you. Listen, I know you're ready to get into tonight's topic, so without pause, let's get to it. So this week, I want to share the story of my personal story, how Steve Harvey changed my life. Now, I know that's big and may be alarming for many of you because you are thinking, he must be kidding. How could a comedian turned game show host impact anyone, and especially someone at your age? I know you're asking, shouldn't he be old enough to know and to now be impacting someone's life instead of giving kudos to a celebrity? Yes, believe me, I've heard it all as I really struggled with whether I wanted to share this personal story. But alas, I determined that I would do so on tonight. And as I said, we are going to look at Steve Harvey's life. And then I'm going to share how he impacted me in such a way that motivated me to change my life. And I hope by the end of this discussion, you too will look at those who may have impacted your life a little closer and realize that it is all right to have those in whom you pattern your life changes after. So listen, you don't want to miss this discussion, so go ahead and tell Lottie Dottie and everybody that HeSpoke Fashion is live, and we'll be right back right after this. Are you ready, AB? All right, let's get it. Hit it. Yeah.
I'm telling he spoke, he spoke, he spoke, he spoke. Not so bad. He spoke, he spoke, he spoke, he spoke. Fashion. I'm telling he spoke.
Listen, again, I thank you for joining us, and I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have this conversation. So as I said during my monologue, I want to talk to you about someone who inspired me in such a way that it changed my life. And as I said in my earlier post, that many of you have your own inspirations from your local church leader, your family members, a coach, a mentor, and even a colleague. And I can agree that I have had those same inspirations. However, this inspiration, it came at a pivotal time in my life where I really needed some encouragement. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever had someone to show up in your life, albeit unexpectedly, and change your life for the better? For me, Steve Harvey was that person. And tonight's discussion centers around how Steve Harvey changed my life. So let's take a look at this short clip, and then we will be right back after this. All right? Stay right there. But I, for one, admire how he finagled that into other opportunities, becoming an author. Wow, what an amazing story it is we have about Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey, the man, the myth, and the legend. All right, all right. I'm glad that you guys stuck it out with us. If you don't mind, turn the monitor down just a bit. Now, I'm so glad that you guys stuck it out, and I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties at the moment right there. We're kind of just getting back into this. You know, we've been away for just a minute because, of course, we had our event there in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Shout out to Fayetteville, North Carolina, and everyone that took the time to come out and celebrate with us and honor those community service heroes there in the area. Listen, we're going to be doing that again real soon here, and I'm so glad that you guys are still partnering with us along this journey. All right? So let's get down to our discussion tonight, because I want to share how Steve Harvey changed my life. That's right. Steve Harvey changed my life. And there are so many things that I could talk about on tonight. Concerning Mr. Steve Harvey. There are several points in Steve's life that I want to look into, and I hope this will help someone to better understand how Steve Harvey changed my life. So first, we must examine the many transformations Steve had over the course of his life. All right, let's look at the transformation. Let's talk about transformation for a moment, shall we? Now, how important is transformation? Does it have a place in your life? Have you ever felt the need to transform any aspect of your life? Maybe a transforming look. As many of you know, Steve Harvey was very popular and well known for his short but ever so neatly cut afro. And this is a point in time where men were more apt to have a head full of hair versus a clean shaven head. Most of us find it difficult to cut our hair. And I can imagine that Steve began and being in the public found it just as difficult. But one thing I want you to keep in mind and keep your mind open to, and that is transformation. And Steve was able to transform and to show me how that you can be comfortable in making a transformation and even make it look good. And I remember the time when hairline was receding and all of that. And I was so glad to have someone there that looked like me, that made the transformation and made it look good. But not only did Steve transform his physical look, but he also transformed in the area of fashion. As we all know, Steve had made the suited and booted look popular, although it was the more larger baggy pants and shoulder pad blazers. I remember that look. And for many, if you went to church, this look transformed many churches. For it was quite often when you saw your more popular preachers wearing a Steve Harvey suit. And what's not easy to do is to transform a generation in terms of fashion. But yet Steve was able to do so. And again, I want, once again, when it was time to pay it forward, and to now be more appealing to those same men and those also that are younger, I would say that his pivot, what he did was he pivoted to more slimming suits, and it was on point. And I see a new generation of men attempting to look just like Steve Harvey. And I would say it's a good thing for young men to pattern themselves off of someone like Steve Harvey. But also, Steve transformed his career. He went from a physical transformation and then fashion, and now he's transformed his career. How and why would someone that is middle-aged want to transform their career? You know, I don't know, but it is nonetheless very inspirational. I think it is riveting that someone in his position would determine the point in his life that he didn't only want to be known as a comedian, not only a stand-up comedian, not only someone who was in the Kings of Comedy, not even an author, nor a talk show host, as well as a game show host. But lastly, he transformed his career, and now he's Judge Steve. Wow. Someone at mid-age will want to transform their career. We're talking about transformation. But then he not only did he transform his career, but he transformed his life. In the late 80s, I want you to know that Steve Harvey was homeless for 3 years. He slept in his 1976 Ford, but not performing gigs that provided a hotel, and he showered at gas stations or swimming pool showers. And you know what? After all of that, he also went through a very public divorce. But as some people are able to take lemons and make lemonade, Steve is one that does it best. And it is amazing how he does it. And look, his bounce back is far greater. Would you say far greater? But not only did he transform his life, but he moved on to transform the lives of others. One lasting way that Steve Harvey has impacted not only my life, but lives of others is simply through transforming others. And first, he transformed himself when he committed his life to Christ. He started with that. And then he was able, and that was a big thing because remember, he was a celebrity who was making a public confirmation of his relationship with Jesus Christ. And at that time, when he did so publicly, there weren't many actors who celebrated their faith in such a public way. But yet none other than Steve Harvey was sharing his faith. And by transforming his life, he was then able to transform the lives of others. Some of us won't share our faith and nobody knows who we are. But yet Steve Harvey, a celebrity at the time, shared his faith. So how did he transform others? And that's none other than the impact that he and his wife Marjorie have made with the Steve and Marjorie Harvey Foundation. And what I love about this foundation is not only does it look to impact those in foreign countries and all over the world, but Steve and his wife started these mentoring sessions and mentoring camps. And I remember a friend of mine, she was so outdone and overwhelmed by this mentoring camp that she was able then to apply for a scholarship to have her son participate in this mentoring camp. Let me tell you, Steve Harvey was able to offer scholarships and to bring on other celebrities in order to support him in mentoring these young men, and then later on, even young women. And so as I began to really think about this, and I hope you're with me, as I really began to think about this and think about the impact and how Steve Harvey was able to change my life, it took me back to a time when I was going through some things, and I don't know about you. I don't know if you ever go through things, but at this particular time, I was going through things, and maybe things weren't going quite the way that I wanted them to go. Many of us, we have our plans. We have our plans of just about everything. How at this point in our lives, we want to be married. At this point of our lives, we want to have the career that we dreamed about. At this point in our life, we want to have the family and the life that we have desired. But oftentimes, our plans are not met because of real life situations. Have you ever had a real life situation that kind of delayed your plan? Well, for me, there was a real life situation, and this was at a time again that I had this plan that I wanted to do in my life. I wanted the career that I wanted to have, and I was looking for any assistance that I could get. And lo and behold, you know how there's always they talk about the proverbial ram in the bush. You know, you didn't know it was there. You didn't know that because you were so focused on the issues of life, the things that were going on, that you didn't notice that there was a ram in the bush. Well, for me, this ram in the bush came in the form of Steve Harvey, and it was in the form of his testimony. Now, I don't know if you've heard this testimony, but I'm just going to share a bit of it that impacted me. And so I just was able to catch an interview that Steve Harvey was having. And he gave his testimony on how that although he was doing the things that he thought he needed to do in his career, he found himself in a place where it wasn't until he was 40 years old that he could buy a car in his own name. And although it happened for me a lot earlier, just hearing his story, it spoke volumes to me. Why did it speak volumes to me? Well, it spoke volumes to me because Steve, he took ownership of the fact, and he shared very transparently that he was, watch this, a late bloomer. A late bloomer. Do you know how we define a late bloomer? Simply this: someone who blooms later than others. A late bloomer. Are you a late bloomer? Have you ever been in a situation where you looked around at your peers and it appeared that they were a lot further along in life than you were? You wanted to get married by 30. You look around, your girlfriends are all married. Your college friends are all married. The guys used to date, they're all married by 30. And you look at your life, and your plan has not met up with the life of your peers. Are you a late bloomer? Well, I was a late bloomer. I looked around, and sometimes, you know, we do get in trouble when we just constantly look around and look at everybody else and see what they're doing and see what they're driving and see where they're living. And we say, what about me? When is my time coming? We can get in trouble in doing that. And that's exactly what I was doing. I could not understand why I was not meeting where I thought I should be at that time. Thank God I had loving parents and loving sibling. Shout out to my sister Teresa, who would always tell me, you're still young, it's not too late. And listen, that's what I'm telling you tonight. That's how Steve Harvey changed my life, because he shared how things happen late for him, and they also happen late for me. I was a late bloomer. Oh, wow. AB just gave me a great question. Listen, have you had anyone that you want to shout out that helped you, that encouraged you when you were perhaps a late bloomer, or perhaps when you were going through something in your life? Is there someone who you want to shout out right now? Listen, I believe in giving people their flowers while they can see them. And that's why I wanted to do this show, to share how Steve Harvey impacted and he changed my life. How did he change me? By his testimony. His testimony set me on a trajectory where I was no longer concerned whether or not I was meeting my plan, because I knew that God had a plan for me. I was a late bloomer, and still oftentimes, even now, I feel like I'm a late bloomer, but that's all right, because now I know. And this is what I want to share with you, that even though you may be a late bloomer, you started late. Just because you started late, it doesn't matter. It's better late than never. You've heard that before. Come on, give me some thumbs up if you heard that before. If that's an encouraging word to you, that it's better late than never. Listen, I know you gone past the age where you thought you should have gotten married by now, but listen, it's better late than never. You thought that you would have the family. It's better late than never. It's all right to be a late bloomer. It's all right to be a late bloomer. You can still write the book. You can still start the business. You can still have the family. And listen, I wanted to challenge you this, because listen, this is HeSpoke Fashion, where we discuss women's fashion from a man's perspective. And I want to ask you, are you a late bloomer in terms of fashion? Listen, were you not the young girl in high school, the teen in high school that dressed up? Maybe even in college, you didn't discover or uncover your sense of style and fashion. Even maybe at the beginning of your career, you never thought about fashion. Maybe you're a late bloomer. And I'm telling you, it's never too late to start this journey called fashion. It's never too late. And I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to go into that closet this weekend. And I want to challenge you to just start looking over and say, you know what? I may not have done it then, but it's never too late for me to do it now. Do it now, family. Do it now. Listen, I have enjoyed this conversation. I hope that you have too. I see your comments there. And listen, I just want to challenge you to find those people that inspire you, to find those people that encourage you. That's what I'm here for. I want to encourage you to partake in this journey called fashion. I want to help you to find what fits you, what fits your life, the life that you have today, and the life that you have to come. That's right. That's why it is important for us to have these types of conversations. And listen, I have really enjoyed this conversation on tonight, and I'm challenging you to stay tuned for what we have coming up for you. And listen, before we leave, I want to again shout out the city of Fayetteville and all of our sponsors and our supporters there. Come on, give me some hand claps if you're there. I'm going to give you a hand clap for the things that you have done to make our One Spring Day Party a success. Shout out to Vaughn, Demetrius. Oh my goodness, such an amazing performance. If you have not booked her you might just be too late because she probably is booked all through the summer. But listen, I'll put her link down there. You can hit her up on Facebook. I'm telling you, she is amazing. And listen, we had an amazing comedian. We brought her out of retirement, but I hope that she continues out of and stays out of retirement. None other than Talori Freeman. What an amazing talent. Listen, I laughed so hard, my jaws were tired. I'm telling you, I had a great time. And when I tell you, we had an amazing caterer. Oh my goodness, favorite flavor. You want to listen, if you're in that local region there in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area, you want to hit Miss Nikita up. Oh, the food was delicious. Everything was wonderful. Now listen, I want to give a special applause. I want to give a special applause to all of the community service heroes recipients. That's right. Chris Rhodey, Roosevelt Pratt, Pastor Doretha Henley, Terry Thomas, and James Tillman. Listen, we were so honored to be able to present you with those Community Service Heroes Awards. We just wanted to encourage you to continue to do just what you're doing. Listen, sometimes people are watching from afar that you know not. Oh, isn't that wonderful to know? Listen, that's all that I have for you tonight. I thank you again for joining us. And listen, we are HeSpoke Fashion, where we discuss women's fashion from a man's perspective. And I'm the host, Daylon Thomas. And we're going to see you again next week. I just want to encourage you to have a good night, good fashion, and to remember, HeSpoke Fashion to you. Remember to hit the subscribe button. Come on and like our page. Begin to follow us on Facebook. We really appreciate all that you do. All right? See you again real soon. Good night. Yeah! In the building!
Fashion, I'm telling HeSpoke, 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 fashion.